In my opinion, Nintendo just had quite possibly the worst announcement they could have possibly had since the start of the Switch days. In an absolutely brain-dead move, Nintendo announced the brand new pricing for the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack Pass at the tail end of the latest Animal Crossing New Horizons Direct. Now, as I'm sure you've seen either on Twitter or YouTube, this pricing it's outrageous. It is ridiculously high. Some people are like, is it too expensive? I don't know how this is even a question. Yes, it is way too expensive. It's not even close. The pricing is so bad, it honestly seems like an out-of-season April Fool's joke. Oh wait, it literally is! In 2019, I made a video called Nintendo Switch Online Deluxe, which is essentially the same thing as the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass, and I literally called the pricing. Except I did it for an April Fool's Day joke, and Nintendo did it for real. But not even just the pricing is the problem. Everything about this announcement was god-awful. From the slimy, weird way they announced certain aspects of it, to where they announced it, to obviously what the announcement was. I just think this was probably the worst announcement Nintendo has had since the start of the Switch era. What's going on, guys? It's Thomas from the Switch Shop, and let me explain to you why this announcement was just so ass. But also in this video, I'm gonna explain why if you want to buy the expansion pass, you should buy it, and not let anyone tell you otherwise. I know those two statements seem kinda contradictory, but by the end of this video, hopefully you guys will understand my position. Alright, so first off, I want to talk about where they announced this. They announced this at the tail end of an Animal Crossing Direct, and it kind of made sense because they are lumping in the Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise DLC into this pack, which I'll get to on its own, but I think that's a terrible idea as well. However, the fact that they announced this at the end of the Animal Crossing New Horizons Direct is so annoying. That New Horizons Direct was amazing. It was utterly phenomenal. I think it was almost perfect. Like, they essentially just revived the second most popular game on the Switch. They essentially took the second best-selling game on the Switch, and I mean, this is more than just an update. This is a complete revamp. Like, they're adding so much stuff that, you know, half of it should have been in there from the start, half of it is cool new features, and that's all the version 2.0 stuff. That doesn't even include the $25 Happy Home Paradise DLC, which could add so much more replayability to this game. They're finally making Animal Crossing New Horizons the game of our dreams. I don't know. I think everything about that Direct was perfect, and unfortunately, it all got overshadowed by this Nintendo Switch Online announcement. I mean, look at, like, the Twitter trending page right after the Direct. It's no secret that negativity sells. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for 4 years. I can tell you for a fact that most of the time when I make a, negative video, it gets more views than if I make a positive video. Negativity sells. That's just always going to be the case. So, of course, that amazing Direct essentially got nullified in terms of, positive press by all the news outlets and people on Twitter making videos and ranting about the terrible pricing of this new Switch Online. Now, why are people actually mad? Well, this pack is overpriced to no end. For $20 a year, you get Nintendo Switch Online plus the NES and SNES services. You get all that for $20 a year. I honestly think that's not a terrible deal. There's a reason I pay for Nintendo Switch Online. I enjoy the service. I think it's a, worth it product. However, then for $50 a year, aka $30 more, you get N64 and Sega Genesis games. That's virtually it. Is it worth paying 150% of the price of the base service just for N64 and Genesis games? In my opinion, no, it's not even close. Genesis games are cool, but in my opinion, the SNES has better games in the 16-bit era, and I don't really want to play most Genesis games. I'm sorry, I just don't. N64 games are great and all, but again, are they worth the $30 extra? No, not even close. That's not even mentioning the family plan. Holy shit. I personally use the family plan. I split it with my sister so that $30 a year becomes $15, and that way I'm able to add some friends onto it as well and kind of share the benefits. It's just a nice thing to do. However, this $30 a year is going to $80 a year. Is this a joke? I actually just cannot believe it. In our podcast, Nintendo Tonight, me, Mac, and PJ, the 3 members of Switch Stop, were talking about what we thought this price was going to be. I said anything more than $10 extra is ridiculous. I thought the total price was going to be $30. Instead, they're charging $30 extra for the base plan and $50 extra for the family plan. I cannot believe that. it does not even make sense that they could think that that's a valuable, it just, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into the whole emulation debate and whatnot, and if you're so vehemently against piracy and emulation, and also do not have an N64 or a Wii U or a Wii or a 3DS, and just have no possible way to play this, I still would not even pay the $50 a year to play these N64 games, because I'm pretty sure there's only like 8 or 10 N64 games launching with this service. Of course, we know they're gonna add more later on, such as Majora's Mask and Banjo-Kazooie, but how frequently will these titles get added? We don't know. And if going off the NES and SNES services is anything to go by, I would not hold your breath for new updates, because you would be dead. Because the updates take so damn long. Another thing I want to talk about is the Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise DLC. After all, that's the whole reason this announcement was in this direct in the first place. The Happy Home Paradise DLC is for some reason rolled into the Nintendo Switch Online Service expansion pack. I didn't mention it before when talking about the price because, well, it shouldn't be included when talking about the price. Over 30 million people own New Horizons. That's an incredible amount. But the Switch almost has 100 million units sold. Less than a third of the people who might be buying Nintendo Switch Online actually have New Horizons, and therefore would actually be able to use the DLC. So adding this DLC in there, A, doesn't make that much sense. Why would you add some random DLC for, you know, a popular game into the Nintendo Switch Online expansion that just has not really had anything like that in the past? B, it artificially inflates the price. People a value of $25, which is how much the DLC standalone costs. I'm assuming that does inflate the price of the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pass pack, yet anyone who's a die-hard Animal Crossing fan, who are, you know, those are the people who are going to buy this pass, the big Animal Crossing fans, they're going to buy the DLC regardless, because if you decide to cancel your Nintendo Switch Online, you lose access to the DLC. Even if you've paid for the expansion pass for 10 years, which is literally $500 worth of the expansion pass, they won't let you keep the DLC. Now, of course, this wasn't made very clear in the trailer. It was confined to fine print down at the bottom, because of course it was. But seriously, adding in this DLC, one that not everyone who gets Nintendo Switch Online can use, and a lot of people who get Nintendo Switch Online and have Animal Crossing probably wouldn't have even bought because they don't play Animal Crossing anymore, just so you can increase the subscription cost of your shitty online service, yet still not even let these people keep the DLC? Everything about this just seems incredibly dumb. I think this is probably the worst value Nintendo has offered in a long time, probably since Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, honestly. Or actually, no, 1-2-Switch was pretty terrible. That was $50 for, like, essentially garbage minigames you would play maybe once and forget about. So I think this is the worst value Nintendo has offered since 1-2-Switch in 2017. Could arguably be a worse value. I mean, $50 a year, $30 a year extra for just N64 Genesis games and a DLC you might not even be able to use? It's just an awful deal, a terrible service, and one that I can guarantee you I will not be subscribing to unless they add in significant upgrades such as GameCube games, Game Boy Advance games, and I'm not talking about like 8 of them and calling that the service, no, like a substantial part of the library without raising the price to the expansion pass. However, as I said in the beginning of this video, that's my opinion, and that's most people's opinion, and I'd wager to say that most of that is fact. I think it is an objectively bad value, and a lot of people can agree with that. However, if you're going to upgrade your Nintendo Switch Online service subscription to the expansion pack and pay the extra money, don't let random people on the internet piss you off about it. It's your money, you can do what you want. You're allowed to purchase a service and still complain about the pricing. That's just the dumbest thing ever I see all the time on Nintendo Twitter, which is, you know, a very questionable place to be, and one of the reasons I just don't go on Twitter much at all, is a lot of people will be complaining about the price and then mention that they're still going to buy the pass and then just get relentlessly harassed. It's a video game company. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. It does not bother you at all if Nintendo... It does not matter to you at all if some random Twitter user is buying the same thing that you don't think is a good value. It also doesn't matter if that random Twitter user also thinks it's overpriced but still wants to buy it anyway because there's games locked behind it that they really enjoy. The fact that people get so pressed over Nintendo is just, it's beyond me. I don't know. If you're like this and get this angry over random Nintendo fans buying things that you don't think is a good value or whatnot, go touch some grass. Like, I see people legitimately getting upset about this. Like, there's so much more to life than getting getting upset that another person is buying the thing that you don't want. I can understand being upset at the company for making this thing overpriced. Obviously, I just made a whole video about that. I'm a little annoyed about this. I would have liked to play these N64 games on my Switch, but obviously I'm not going to cough up the $50 a year. Being upset at the company is fine, but being upset at random consumers for supporting the company that you're upset at, like, just grow up. It does not matter that much. It's not that deep. If you like the N64 games and Genesis games being offered enough to purchase this pass, go for it, bro. It doesn't really matter. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Everyone's just got to remember, this is a children's company that makes video games. It's not that big of a deal. With that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Thomas from the Switched Up, signing off. Peace.